more just a comment of affirming the gift that you've already shared with both blessing and children. I've enjoyed teaching throughout my career, but my wife is one of the excellent teachers, and one of the things that she does for every school day that starts her day, she welcomes each child. God bless you, Susan. God bless you, George. God bless you. And that's the way they start their entrance. They feel blessed as they walk in the door. And she's got tough kids, so it doesn't take away the fact that they have needs or anything. But the parents love her because of what they feel their children get from her every day.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Russ. See, sometimes too, with kids, like your own kids, especially the kids at school, just to say to kids at the time, God, I'm proud of you. You wouldn't believe how powerful that is. Kids want their parents to be proud of them. Students want their teachers to be proud of them. And I don't hand it out that we're just proud of everybody who it means it. But whenever there's something that you can affirm, just say, God, I'm proud of you. You wouldn't believe what it does to a kid. It does a lot to adults too. Okay.
You're talking about cursing as a repression of the child. I've always thought that as like the commandment of thou shalt not kill, killing the spirit. It's not a question, but is that kind of the similar vein of what you're thinking, or would you mind?
Yes, no, that's a very good observation on your part. That, for instance, when someone comes into confession, say, I cursed and I swore, they're just saying I use colorful language. No. But what I define as cursing doesn't go under the commandment, don't take the Lord's name in vain. It does go under the 5th commandment, thou shalt not kill. That's what we're doing. We're killing life. We're shaming life and so on. See, the 5th commandment, which incidentally is the hardest one to keep. Somebody once said, you spent the first half of your life struggling with the 6th commandment, but you spent the second half of your life struggling with the 5th commandment, thou shalt not kill. Every time we look at who does he think he is or she is, we're killing, See, we kill with words, we kill with thoughts, long before we ever kill with a gun. So you're right, that's a good observation. That's a fault against the 5th commandment, not against thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. Taking the Lord's name in vain, incidentally, has to do with breaking an oath, not with, saying a bad word when you slice your golf ball wrong. That one isn't even covered much by commandments. Okay. I was hoping somebody else before Dan get the microphone, because I know it's a question I don't want it, but anyway, go ahead.
So my question isn't so much on the topic we spoke on today so much. A friend of mine sent me a message who really wanted to come and didn't get it. You have to ask him. In Germany, right now the bishops are talking about, or there's some reporting that the bishops are looking at perhaps blessing same-sex unions, ordaining women deacons, ordaining married priests, and I'm not sure, I don't know that much about the issue myself, but what happens if they go ahead and do this? What happens in Rome? Like, if you comment on the issue, I'm sure you don't know what that really means.
If you said you want to comment, no, I don't want to comment on the issue, but I have to. No, those are really hard questions. I'm actually, Dan, I'm about your question up. Let me work from where you ended backwards on it. Say, what would happen if they did that? We don't know, because that's never been done. The last time somebody did it was called Martin Luther, and it meant, we started splitting churches. So in Roman Catholicism, anytime it's happened up to now, it meant a split. But although this is something a little bit different, like if you look at each one of those issues, okay. First of all, I'll tell you why that's happening. And it's happening here too. But the German bishops, they are under fierce pressure. They're looking at their churches and they're seeing, a lot of women aren't going. There's resentment about this. The church, there's a lot of resentment about the church's attitude towards, homosexuality. their shortage of clergy, So these are powerful pastoral issues. There are also powerful pastoral issues here. Our bishops sometimes have been slow to recognize that. No offense to the bishops, but I'll give you an example. In the United States, Pew, that's the major research that Gallup polls, they polled young people, Catholics and non-Catholics, what is your biggest issue you have with the church? And people were completely surprised that their biggest single issue was how the church feels about the LGBTQ thing. And that they feel the church is out of step and so on. And the second thing would be women, I recently had I really love our Archbishop, and he's a wonderful man. We have a very robust relationship. But recently he called me in because we had Matthew Fox speak at our school. We thought people had forgotten who he was, but it seems they hadn't. The conservatives were in an uproar, So the bishop called me and he says, he said, this was awkward for me. He said, I really had to defend your school. He said, and that's the second time I've had to do that. I said, Your Grace, we have to defend you every day. And I wasn't being facetious, He said, today, in graduate school, so the whole issue of women, and for instance, right now in the Roman Catholic Church, all juridical power, which means power to make decisions, is tied to orders. And women are excluded from orders. So in fact, in Roman Catholicism, by canon law, women are excluded from all decision-making power. Now they can be brought in, the canon law says, parish priests are supposed to consult, bishops are supposed to consult, but it doesn't mean they have to ever listen to you. So if you have a really good priest, it works. If you have a really good bishop, it works. If you don't, they just say, no, I make the decision. See, so that, and until canon law changes, which is one of the things which is also that the synod that's starting on Monday or whatever, and on Amazon is also going to look at, and the question of women deacons. See, and women deacons, they did a study some years ago, which for whatever reason Rome stopped, but no, Francis has ordered that again, but it seems, historically, there were already women deacons in the early church, and Francis wants to find out whether that's true, and if it is true, that may be a game changer in terms of the other thing that people are proposing, which is a little more radical but not off the chart, is that women could be made cardinals. See, you don't have to be a priest to be a cardinal. Cardinals have a lot of power in the church, and see, there's also pressure on Rome for that, But see, so the German bishops, they're just realistically looking at the 3 or 4 biggest pastoral problems that there are in the church. And they're saying, if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we're getting, which isn't happy right now. So they say, so I don't know politically whether they're going to do it or not. There's people like Cardinal Burke and so on that said this is going to be the first schism in the church since Martin Luther and so on. We don't know whether they're going to do it, or if they do it, how Pope Francis will react. Because none of them are actually dogmatic issues. Those are church rules. You only ordain men. Those are church rules. We don't ordain women. Canon law says women can't have a juridical role or even think of gay marriage and so on. And I know that Francis himself is personally sympathetic because he also sees that we keep doing what we're doing, we keep getting what we're getting. And today there's just irrevocable movement in the other direction. So there's just thousands of women who no longer go to church. And people say, well, they shouldn't do that. They're doing it. And, it's like Yogi Berra says, if they don't come to the ballpark, you can't stop them, If people don't come to church, you can't stop them, See, so today people are voting by their feet, and the old juridical power doesn't work anymore. The old threats don't work. You can't tell your kids, if you don't go to Mass, you're going to go to hell if you die. They don't believe it, and in fact, it isn't true. So, our generation, we submitted to that, In fact, if you say, if you miss Mass and you don't go to church, if you die, you're in mortal sin, you're going to go to hell. You're the one who's in heresy, not the kids, and so on. You can't teach that, you know, in God's name, the church's name, and so on. See, so the German bishops there, we don't know what they're going to do. That's on their agenda. The same as 2 or 3 of those questions are on the agenda in Rome beginning on Monday, you know. Where it's going to go, we don't know. Like Charles Taylor said, it's new territory. We've never been there before, you know. I was at a panel at St. Mary's University just about a week ago, and there was a lady judge who said, "You're a priest." She said, I'm in my 70s. Will I ever get to see married priests? Will I ever get to see women priests? I said, you and I probably won't. Well, we may be a pope or 2 away from it, you know. And see, on some of those grounds, like, you have to understand how the Vatican works in terms of they're dealing with 1 million some people from different countries, and they can't make fast moves. If you're a tour guide leader with 1 billion people following you, you got to move pretty slowly. Okay. But this Pope, he shifted the ground on all of those questions. So, I'll give you an example on the gay question. Remember, he said, "Who am I to judge?" And then he did something which startled a lot of people. He met a gay man, and he says, "God made you like that, and God loves you like that." Okay, that's new for Rome. Okay. On the deacon issue, he asked theologians and stuff to do a study, see where there were the deacons and so on. On the issue of women's ordination, it's interesting. You have to understand Romanese. Pope John Paul and Benedict said it's closed. That issue is closed. It should be treated as if it's infallible. Francis just changed a little bit. He said it's not on the table right now. Notice that's a very, very different statement. You know, he said, we're not going to talk about it right now. that leaves that shift at that, and so on. And on the question of married priests, they're discussing it in Rome starting on Monday. You know, so that there's movement on that agenda. You know, I greatly doubt the German bishops. They will probably do something qualified. I'm sure they're not going to say, we're going in that direction. They're going to probably write something and say that we really want the church to push in that direction, see, which is not a, you know, take it or leave it deal, but say this is where we think the next years we got to study, we got to move in that direction, you know. But I'm glad you asked the question. Those are the most difficult questions today, but there's no sense pretending they aren't there.